What's the one question every audience is asking, even when they never say it out loud? Imagine if there was a way to build into every presentation one thing that the audience cares most about and why this matters to them. Well, we've got someone who understands what it takes to truly connect with people. From rebuilding his life after being told he might never walk again to becoming a two-time world champion and international motivational speaker. You ready? Let's go. Today's guest, Steve Judge, was involved in a near-fatal car accident and told he might never walk again. He's also a two-time world champion in the sport of para-triathlons and is an award-winning international motivational speaker. Welcome to the show, Steve. Loved getting to know you in our little kind of warm-up and really looking forward to the conversation.
Me too, Rob. It was lovely chatting, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Let's see where it goes, but most importantly, let's see how we can help your listeners.
See, you're already walking the walk. You notice that, folks? He didn't waste any time. What's our topic? What's in it for the audience? What's in it for the listeners? And he's honing in on it right now. All right, so let's start with this one with you. Why do you think so many presenters miss and I'm nicknamed it, not me, but a lot of people have nicknamed it a WIFM. What's in it for me, or what's in it for the audience? Why do you think so many presenters actually miss this?
It's a big question. Am I speaking on behalf of them? My opinion, and I think that's the thing in being a professional speaker, a lot of it's opinionated because everybody's different. Everybody's got their own ideas. So in my opinion, it's because they get carried away. And I say that because I've got carried away at times. I've got amazing, inspirational story and people love hearing my story. But once you start getting to the point where you want to get paid for speaking and you want to get rebooked, you've got to give more than just the story. You've got to give some takeaways, some giveaways. You've got to make it beneficial for the audience. You've got to imagine the audience are sat there and they're looking at the watch and they're going, well, what's in it for me? You know, I'm a busy person. Why should I listen to you for 45 minutes, for an hour or whatever? And once you get that thought into your head, then you can start thinking about, yes, it is about them. And much as I may have an amazing story or some amazing facts or some knowledge or some expertise, it is actually about the audience. So how can we both be happy with this?
Right. Hey, Steve, I'm curious. How long did it take you? And then I'll tell you how long it took me. All right. How long did it take you to realize that as amazing a story that you have, you had to begin to accelerate that story to get to the connection to the audience? Because I think the instinct is this is an amazing story. Everyone's going to love it. And they do over coffee. You know, they do in social situations. But when you're on a stage, you've only got so much time to tell that story.
Yeah, I think, initially it was just about the story, and I joined this group called the Professional Speaking Association, PSA, in the UK. And one of the big buzzwords comments is, it's not about you, it's about the audience. And I thought, yeah, but, you might say that to most speakers, but my story is really special. I think it is about me. But, the seed gets planted and you start thinking, oh, actually, maybe they're talking the truth and maybe that I should listen to them. And you go through that process. So my keynote changed within maybe 1 or 2 years, thinking about, so how can I make it for the audience? And it was about twisting it around. And once you start realizing what you should be doing and what you need to do, it's fun. It suddenly becomes more creative. It's more, how can I make it about the audience? What do the audience want? How can I make it entertaining for them, interactive for them? How can I give them a question? How can I make them take action? And I think, as I just said that, I thought, yes, that was the key thing. What I love about when I finish my keynote now is meeting and mingling the audience. We all love doing that. I feel like a rock star or something, don't we? And we get selfies and stuff. But people say, "Oh, it's amazing! It was amazing! It was amazing!" And I say, "Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much." Can I ask you one question? What action will you be taking now that you've heard my keynote, my story? And if they say, "Yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, the other," that's brilliant. But the people that say, I'm not too sure," or they hesitate, I don't like that. I feel that I've, in a way, quite harshly, I failed. I've just been up there for 45 minutes, busting my gut and doing as much as I can so that they change their perception, their life, whatever they're doing, they take action. And if they don't take action, I need to do better. And that's how I give myself feedback. What more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do so that the audience go away and take action? I want to be that catalyst moment for them so that they go forward. So that's how I kind of, have a check in on myself.
Yeah. Well, and I asked the question, how long did it take? Because it's instinct versus logic. What you've just spoken about is completely logical. The problem is it's not instinctive. And we really will get wound up in that story. But I'm like you. As a matter of fact, I want to get hired for more speaking gigs. It's what that audience does differently when we're done. If they've
Yeah.
been entertained and inspired and motivated and heard some amazing stories, terrific. Although I'd probably put you in as a dinner speaker so we can just eat dinner and watch you. But if you're going to be during the day while we're mixing in real content, then we got to get to the real content. And when you can hit on both, you're doing great. Uh, One other thing because I think, and this is my opinion, I'd love your opinion on this. When I finally realized you're much more involved than me, this was really hard for me to let go because I really felt my story was such a good one. When I finally let go, what saved me was realizing, okay, I'm going to tell them a quick story because they have to know why I'm here. But I'm
Yeah.
going to put my foot on the accelerator. However, I can dip in and out every now and then
Yeah.
during those 45 minutes. So I'm not a prisoner of content now. I just don't want to overstay my welcome up front. Where are you on that?
Oh, totally. And it's my journey, my full keynote is my story from wheelchair to world champion and beyond in business. So it's a very inspiring story. However, I right at the beginning, very close to the beginning, after my amazing start, and people will like sit up in the chairs. Oh, what's happening here? My initial question is, "What's your goal?" And then I say it's an acronym for what's your goal, your opportunity, your love, your dream. What is that thing that you really want? That thing that will get you out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, etc., etc. And it just makes them think about what their goal is. And I said, look, because it's about you, it's about the audience, I want you to think about it. Then I jokingly say, actually, it's not about you, it's about me. Let me go back to my story. And I carry on with my amazing story. But throughout it, because there's 5 winning ways that I mention, every now and again, when I'm talking about like the golden vision, then I say, so what would your golden vision be? Okay, back to me. Then the next one is your golden soul. Why is your why? Why do you want your thing so much? You say you want it passionately. Why do you want that? And one of the best ones is, so going into my story a little bit, I had to learn how to stand again and walk again. And I talk about how I started walking on my crutches and sometimes I fell and I had to pick myself up and I had to carry on, and then I'd rest the next day, and then the day after that I'd get up and I'd go and do it all again. And people are like leaning forward, they're engrossed with it, they're going, wow, this is amazing. And at that point, and I say, so what are you doing? And then you leave that gap. And I go quite angrily. I can feel like the passion inside. So, no, what are you doing? What are you doing to work towards your goal? That thing that you say you want, that thing that you say you're passionate about, what are you actually doing? And, you get that thing where you're interacting with them and they're looking at you and they're going, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I carry on onto my story about what I did and how I achieved and what I did and how I achieved. But it's lovely just dipping in and out just to keep them still connected, still to say, much as I'm telling my story, it is about you. What are you doing about your goal? What is your goal? Why do you want it? Who's helping you? When do you want it? All of these things. So by the time they get to the end of the keynote, they might not know all the answer to this, but my goodness me, they're definitely thinking about them, because some of those they weren't but they weren't able to answer. They weren't able to think, I don't know what my goal is, or I don't know when I want it. I don't know why I want it. Why do I want to retire early? What am I going to do? Why do I want to earn more money? What am I going to spend that money on? Why do I want to spend more time with my family? What holidays? What they're just thinking about it, and I love that. And it's asking those questions throughout the keynote, just dipping in and dipping out in a jovial style, but also in a very powerful and emotional style. That's what they love.
Well, I can tell you, I can just listening to you, I can hear, the passion in your voice. But you said something that else that really intrigued me that is not instinctive for speakers, and that is pausing.
Oh,
Again, we learn that one isn't just doesn't come out of the school usually. You have to learn that one, but you have to, it's almost scary because a pause for you is a split second. Steve and I right now, we're talking about a real live pause, and yet it's so powerful.
it is. It's
Yeah.
very, and when you make the pause, somebody wants to fill it, and if you're on the stage with the microphone, you want to fill it. Of course you do, and you can just keep it at the right timing, and that's difficult. And you get that from listening back on yourself or asking people that you trust. Was the pause long enough? Was it too long? I've listened to some speakers, and they give too many pauses, and they're really long to the extent where it's just dragging out, and you're kind of thinking, can you just get on with it now? I mean, I can understand the technique that you're trying to do, but you haven't quite got it right. So it is practice and feedback to get it right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I like, you can't trust yourself on stage. You can't take a pause and go, that was good. You really do have to have somebody in the back watching, or you're going to have this film because the mind plays tricks on us when we're up there. Time is completely botched up. You've got an adrenaline rush going. There's all sorts of things going. So if you think you're going to count out a pause, it doesn't work that way. So I like the fact that you're getting a third party on that, or at least watching the film of it. Let me shift to when. So we both know that we got to tell a story, but we're really wrapping that story into a WIFM. Is that in the first minute when you start? Is that in the fifth minute? I mean, I'm assuming it's in the first half. How fast do you get at that WIFM?
Quite early on. So I start off quite abruptly, and people always think, what's going on here? I shout out what I was being shouted at as an elite athlete. I was coming down the final straight, final 100 meters. The crowd are going crazy, so I'm shouting out, come on, Great Britain, come on, GB, come on, Steve, keep going. And people are going, oh, what's going on here? And so they sit upright, which is great. And then I talk about, crossing the finish line. So we're talking about getting the medal around my neck, but, then I say, but, 9 years before I got this medal put around my neck, I was told that I may never walk again. Boom, drop the mic kind of moment. So that's still in the first minute and a half, I would say. And then I say, okay, so today's not all about me, laugh it off. And I say, it's about you. What's your goal? So I would say within the first 3 minutes, I'm asking them what their goal is. What's their goal, opportunity, love, and dream? So quite early on, I've given them a shock start, and then I've twisted it around to them, what's in it for the audience. And then I carry after about 5 minutes, and I big it up. And this is how I can make it a little bit specific for the audience, because the clients are always asking, is it just you and your story, or do you make it specific for the audience? I said, look, I can make it specific for the audience a little bit. And what I love about that is when I get there early, I walk and talk to as many audience members as possible. Not too many, because I can only hold so much in my brain, otherwise I forget my keynote. But say I speak to two, and I say, what are your goals in business, or what are your goals personally? And then I ask somebody else the same questions. So when I'm saying, what's your goal, your opportunity, your love and dream, I can say something like, hey, I was talking to Jack. Where's Jack? Hi, Jack, give me a wait. Now, Jack was talking about going on holiday more with his family. I love that, Jack. And I was talking to Julie. Where's Julie? Julie over there. She wants to start her own business, which is amazing. That's her goal at the moment. And people think, how does Steve know these people in the audience? Has he been interacting with them and stuff like that? So again, not too many people, otherwise I'll forget. But it's really nice to get that interaction, get that connection with them, and then move on. So that's all within the first 5 minutes. That they're keyed in. They know it's about them, and then it's back to me.
Right answer. meaning, people jump and go, oh, first 30 seconds. I love what you're doing. I've got a quote, a story, an analogy, an observation, something to just warm this audience up
Mm,
before we hit them with that. So I really like what you're hearing Steve say is, hey, first I get their attention. And I love the way you tell that story too, by the way. I've got a few where I do that where that guy was me or, I've got a few of those. They have to be with pauses, by the way. But I like the fact that you're not messing around. We're gonna hook the audience and
mm,
then listen, we're gonna tell them what they're gonna learn and how they're gonna learn it and maybe what we expect out of them. I got a bunch and who am I? I got other things that are important up front. But if the audience doesn't know what's in it for them to hear the talk, and in the real world of professional speaking, not everybody has chosen to be there sometimes. This is a company event. So
yeah,
don't assume the audience just can't wait for Steve.
yeah,
So hook them, and then I wouldn't mess around. I'm with you. Clearly, within the first 5 minutes, we've got to we got to nail this thing.
yeah.
When you're crafting it and kind of getting at it, I look at a couple different components of WIFMs. Let's compare notes. Last time I went first, I'm going to let you go first. So everybody knows. Okay, so he tells his story, and then he tells them what's in it for them. But how do you do that? I mean, how it will help them personally? Do you really? Let me get my Rob. Use your words. There they are. Do you write this thing out, or you just kind of go with whatever your impulse is to answer that question for them?
So I think a lot of it is scripted because I've been doing it for so long, over 10 years. So the keynote, the foundation, let's call it, is there. But like I said, by arriving early, speaking to them, when I'm talking about potentially what their goals could be within the business, the more research that I do, the better, because it makes them think that this is personal for them. So if it's like business owners, it's going to be about, maybe more time, not at business, but, time with the family or, getting some more people in their golden gang. If it's people that have been dragged in, like you said, employees, then, it could be about retirement. It could be, a 4-day week. But I also talk about personal as well as professional. And that's one change because I made it very much professional initially about work, business, money. And I realized soon that people don't always think about work, business, and money. They think about what they really love, which is their partner, their family, their health. Health is so important. And just as I'm saying this, I remember how I always finish it off. Is it health, wealth? Is it happiness? Because I think that is the key. And once you say that, and again, a pause after that, happiness, people go, yeah. And then I say, so what makes you happy? Because surely that is the meaning of life. Without getting too deep, it's about keying into something that they go, oh, yes, yeah, what does make me happy? Oh, no, time doing that. Right, that's it. So you've keyed into something, and it might be business. Maybe business makes them happy. Maybe lots of money makes them happy. Maybe good health makes them happy. But whatever makes them happy, once they've got that triggered into their brain, boom, now I can carry on because they found, I would say that's towards their goal.
Perfect. Now I'm going to talk about a couple things real fast, and I think I might be able to just give you some ideas. But I'm doing this for you and my audience, so I want to just go over a couple things that you said. I think you're what we call an unconscious competent, or you've been trained, and I'm waiting for the words because actually, and I owe this to Xerox. We were methodical about our whiffs and really developed this recipe because we didn't know, looking at an audience of 50 or 100 or 500, okay, which ones care about this only for themselves? Which ones really just want to see how this will help them on the job? And probably the one who's writing my check cares about how this is going to help the company, doesn't really care about how it helps them. So what we decided was, you know what? We're going to hit all three every time. We're going to go personal, job, corp. And meaning, listening to Steve will not only inspire you, which I think will really help you on the job. When you're talking to clients, you want to have that extra bounce, but that also carries on at home when you're with your family and when you're with your friends. And by golly, if we present ourselves the way we should when we're talking to clients, ultimately it's the corporation that's going to benefit. But you just heard me kind of nick all three. And
Mm,
now I know, I don't know who's where, but everybody's happy. Okay.
yeah.
Because I don't want to pick one and guess. And so it's a personal job, Corp. Couple, two other thoughts. Number two, when you're meeting people up front, I do that. I want to be more like Steve here, folks. I sometimes I keep to myself a little bit, but I really do want to meet people. Maybe a prize is at the end. In other words, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And by the way, Judy and Steve and whoever those people were, I've got, whatever. Hopefully, you've got a little bit of merch, pens, something easy. I want to thank you for coming up and spending some time talking to me. And folks, for next time you get a speaker in here, please understand we love talking to you before a presentation. Come on up. You never know. You might walk out with a pen like Judy and Hank or whatever. But it's a sweet moment that you can say thank you to those people that actually were in a conversation with you. All right, one last idea. I got to go fast with you. You ever heard of a movie called City Slickers?
Yes, I have. Brilliant film.
Boy,
As
I
well as
would.
City Slickers too. I like that.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm hearing a part of City Slickers in your presentation because there's that wonderful moment where he's saying we're all got to find that one thing in your life that's going to make you happy. That's going, and they went, well, what is it? And he goes, that's for you to figure out. And when I watched the
Yeah.
movie, at first I didn't understand what he was saying, but it's going to be unique and different. Anyway, I think that might be just a nice little zip with, talk about sustaining interest, a little shot of 30 seconds of that one thing that
Mm.
we have to figure out. But it's a powerful movie, and I think it speaks. I'm just an amateur on your presentation, but it speaks a little bit to what I'm hearing you deliver.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love the film. I remember, and now that you've mentioned it, I do remember that one thing. And there's a few other films
Yeah.
where it's just that one thing. But yes, and I find it. So again, I want to help people. This is one of the reasons why I do what I do, is I just want to help, inspire, motivate, empower people to go and achieve that one thing. And so when people say, "Oh, actually, Steve, what I learned from yours is that I haven't got a one thing," and I'm like, "Oh, right, okay." You haven't, I'm sorry, you haven't got a one thing. You don't know what you want. They go, no, I just, drift through life. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I have to accept this, that everybody's different, but I find it really shocking. I mean, I guess I've had my one thing, my car accident, my one thing was my survival. And then to stand and to walk, I really wanted that. When I got the opportunity to represent Great Britain, of course I wanted, win at that. That's my one thing. And now my business is like I just said, to help people. But other people, they don't know. They're almost drifting through life. I would say they're flatlining through life, and they haven't got a one thing. They haven't got a goal that they work toward. Now, okay, it's up to them. Everybody's different, but again, I want to help them. So it's kind of like, so what can I do? And I'm working on working out a questionnaire that they could go through, and if they answer all the questions at the end of it, they find out what their one thing is. But it wouldn't really work, because you'd have to ask an awful lot of questions to find out what that one thing is. They've already got to dig down deep in themselves, or even have some counselling or therapy or some meetings to find out what that one thing is. But I just assure them that once they find out what that thing is, oh my goodness, the clouds open and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just go, oh right, now I know what I'm working towards, and now everything else will fall into place. So if I can just help them to start that ball rolling, to plant that seed, that's all I want to do. And maybe that's what City Slickers did. Maybe that's why they finished the end of the film and thought, do you know what? It's stuck in my head. I can remember it. What is my one thing?
Right, right. I actually didn't get it the first time I saw it. I was like, well, what is the one? Why won't he tell them? Why won't he tell them what the one thing is? Until I watched again and went, oh,
Yeah,
and he even says, that's for you to figure out. I
yeah.
just didn't really connect it. Well, I have another one thing for you. I'll tell you where people might be able to figure it out. And that is when you step from a keynote to a workshop. Do
Yeah.
you deliver workshops?
Yes, I do deliver workshops, and they're called Good to Gold, and it's the 5 winning ways that will unlock the power of your potential. But I think it's always it's what more can I do? So I've just I'm going to be delivering a masterclass, which is very similar. That's kind of like for senior leaders. But there's this exciting thing that I'm doing at the moment. I guess it's my one thing, and that's I'm writing a film about my
Ooh.
journey. at the moment. And again, I'm doing the film because I want people to be inspired and ignited by it. At the end of the film, I want them to go, well, that was a very entertaining film. What's my one thing? So it's always about how can I encourage people to think about what their one thing is. And yeah, the workshops do that, but it's like, what more can I do to get that message out there?
Well, what I'm hearing, listen, I do 1 hour keynotes, but I do half day workshops, 1 day workshops, 2 day workshops. Not so many 2 days anymore because everybody wants it faster. But what I'm hearing, only I don't have the exercise yet. What I'm hearing from you is if we're in a workshop, why couldn't there be a one thing exercise or something along that line? And with a couple of people and maybe some sort of template of how to try and figure that out. So if you and I were meeting in a small group and I'm the guy who says, I don't know what my one thing is.
Yeah.
Here, what's something that's you're passionate about? What's the last thing that you remembered where you went, that was a good day?
Yeah.
You know, I'm pulling this out of left field right now, but I think you could create a template enough that would help people not only find it, but then present it a little bit. And that's the difference between a workshop and a keynote, right? Keynote, you're inspiring them.
Yeah.
Workshop, you're really almost creating a cultural shift in what they're doing. We can't do that in 45 minutes in front of 200 people, but we
No.
can do it in a day in front of 20 people. And that's why I ask about those workshops. I think they're natural for what you're doing because
Yeah.
you could really get people, to implement, and that's what we're dancing around right now.
I love the words that you were using then is just exactly what I want the people to think about. What is that thing? When was that time? How did you feel? And for me, my brain works like a flow chart. I'm an engineer, so maybe that's why. But it's a flow chart. Yes or no? Did this make me happy? Yes or no? Was this difficult? Yes or no? Do you want more of this? Yes or no? And just going through this, and by the time you get to the end of this massive big flow chart, you've worked out what your goal is. It would have to be an extremely big one, but something along those lines. When I was going through, like I said, as I've gone through my journey, I've always seemed to know what I wanted. One thing I did do is I drew a picture. I drew a picture of what I wanted, opening up to my RAS, my reticular activating system, and that was my vision. People have vision boards now, but I drew a picture of standing again, world champion, business owner on the stage and everything. So, depending on how long I get to speak, 45 minutes or an hour, that last 15 minutes, I get everybody in the room to draw a picture. Two pictures, one about where they are now and one where do they want to be in relation to where they are now. And I say, look, you can draw anything. Draw a house, draw a mansion with a swimming pool, have a car, have two cars, have a helicopter. It doesn't matter. It's a picture, it's a drawing. And just getting people just to open up just a little bit, even if they put their arms round while they're drawing, that's real magical. And then after that, I say, who would like to share? Not many people want to share, which is very annoying, but I always get at least two people to stand up and share. And I guarantee that those are two people, they're the ones who will probably achieve their goals. The ones that are still hiding it from themselves or even from the people around them or from the rest of the room. If you don't ask for help, you're never going to get it. Those people that stood up and shared what they want, I can help them. Other people can help them. Oh, okay, you want to write a book? I've written a book. Maybe we can talk afterwards, etc. It's about getting out of your head, first of all, draw the picture, sharing it with other people, asking for help, not easy, but that's what you need to do. And lo and behold, you take action and you start working towards it. So that's one thing that I can do sometimes on the keynote. But you're right, workshops, so much more.
So much more because we got the audience smaller. But you just taught our audience another thing, which is here's a guy who's doing keynotes who isn't afraid to do exercises within the keynote. And I
Mm,
think some speakers are, and that's usually a symptom of a little too much information because remember, we are there to inform and entertain and find that right rhythm. It's not how much information we deliver. It's that recipe. It's that mix we're looking at. So I like where you're coming from there. I'm going to throw it back at you again. You ever have people that you can only use this idea once? So let's forget rewarding people who spoke to you beforehand. You ever stand there again and say, how about I get just two people? Count to two and say, and oh, by the way, I know it takes a little courage to talk about this. So you're getting a book, and I'm going to sign that book to you. Now, can I get two volunteers? I'll send you £100. The first time that one doesn't work, you'll get hands going up real
Well,
fast.
well, Rob, our minds think alike. Great minds think that's exactly what I do. So, although I don't mention the book because I don't want to like persuade them, but the first person
Right,
that does it, I say, well, as a thank you, here's a book, and I will sign
right,
it and message it. I
right,
only have one book left, and it's just like, oh, then the hands go off and everything like that. But
right.
yeah, it's a really good because okay, there's a couple of things that I do, and they are clever. First of all, it shows that I've got two books, and it reminds people. I think I've already mentioned it in the keynote, but it reminds people. And sometimes I've jokingly said I brought 20 with me, and as I hand the books out, I say I've only got 19 left. I've only got 18 left. Jovial, joking, but now it's people are thinking, oh, I want to buy one of those books. The other thing that I do is on the card. So I put out a A5 card. For everybody to write to draw this picture on. So draw a picture where they are, where they want to be. That card is there, and I emphasize that is your card. You take that away with you. You put it on your fridge. You put it on your computer. You look at that picture that you've drawn every single day. You'll work towards it. So now that is a really good takeaway. We're talking about now what's in it for them. They've actually got a physical thing that they're taking away. Now then, this is for all your audience and your listeners. On the back of that card is all my details.
Mm.
Website, phone number, email, lovely picture, maybe a nice quote, something like that. They're taking away my business accounts just in case they were to forget who I was. They won't anymore because they've got it with them. So it's really nice.
Perfect. Do you use a handout in that keynote?
Not usually, no. I've got to the point where there's a QR code on the screen. If somebody wants to scan that take it from there. So that's as
Okay.
far as I go.
All right. We'll talk about that one once the camera goes off on us today.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in handout, folks, because it just has to be a good one. We want to take care of that audience, like Steve says, and B, that's my little card that
Yeah,
has QR codes and websites. And, I've been in the business a while. I can't tell you how many times people have told me, I was looking at your handout and I'm now in a position, it's been 10 years, but I'm now in a position. I was wondering if you could do our, kickoff meeting, whatever. So I'm going, love that handout. All right. Last question for you.
yeah.
If somebody walks away, we're talking about implementation when you do a keynote. Let's talk about it in this podcast. Somebody walks away with one idea that you want them to remember from today's discussion, and we talked about why WIFMs, how WIFMs, layers of WIFMs. We've been on the WIFM train, but if they were to grab one idea from today, what would it be?
Oh, what's in it for them? I think I'm going to go with the getting to know the audience. It's really out your comfort zone. I'm a very confident person, but when you go into that room and you don't know anybody, and they don't even really know you. I mean, they know when you come off the stage, but before you go on the stage, they don't really know you. And to go up to people, to introduce yourself to people and say, well, I'm actually the keynote speaker or the guest speaker today, and I was just wondering if I could ask you some questions. It takes a lot of effort to do that. But if you can do that and just find out a little bit more about the audience, not from what the person that booked you or from the website that you've already done the research on, but actually the individuals, and the more the individuals you can talk to, get a real feel for what they really want from your keynote or from the day or from the workshop or from the weekend. Just find out, just talk to the people. And that's why getting there early is so important. So that's what I would say. For most people, go out your comfort zone, talk to the audience before you get on the stage.
Yeah. And I bet it's unusual. You're hearing a professional speaker, the guy that's not afraid of the stage, telling you not necessarily the most comfortable thing to talk to people beforehand. Steve, I'm right there with you. I am a card carrying extrovert. People can't believe I have even a thread of introvert in me. And yet,
Yeah,
in a sense, we're going to somebody's high school reunion practically. They all typically know each other. They may
yeah,
be coming in from different parts of the country, and you're the stranger. And
yeah.
it's a little uncomfortable. So we really do. I love what you said. I think that's a great piece to end on. It's a lot easier to hide, but let's jump out of our comfort zone and maybe start warming that audience up a little bit before we even get up there. I love it. And one thing, I'm now asking me that question. What, Ron, what would you want them to walk with? I would love them people to walk away with exactly what you said on the WIFM, And maybe don't be afraid to call it back at the 44th minute of that keynote as you're beginning to wind down. And not as extensive a WIFM, but a reminder of a WIFM. We tend to lay it on good on the beginning. Maybe it's a nice way to close as well, but very lightly. Just tap it.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, as a keynote speaker, the advice is you rehearse your arse off the beginning and the end. The middle bit will come naturally, but the beginning you're nervous, always excited, whatever you want to call it, and at the
Anxious,
end,
anxious.
so yes, somebody might be saying you're nearly out of time, and you go right, I go into automatic pilot, and you do the thing, and that's when you do your WIFM. You
Yeah.
know, as I was just saying, what I have, what's your goal? What's your goal? Your blah blah blah, and then you finish on a round of applause as you walk off the stage, a standing ovation. Why not? And it's
Why
lovely.
not? Let's do it right. And folks, just so you know, those standing ovations, we don't get them all the time. Love to
No.
get them all the time. When we get them, it's emotional. So
Oh,
don't be afraid to get up. you
yeah.
you
Oh,
want to
so
thank
much.
that speaker. They're paying attention, believe me.
I'm glad you said that. It is emotional. It is
Yeah.
one of the best feelings ever, and you don't get them all the time.
Mm-mm.
But when you do get them, you're just like, wow. There's a couple of times I've teared up, big and
Yeah.
proper,
Yeah.
and it's such an amazing feeling. You go, yes, nailed it. They clearly loved it so much they've even stood up, as well as the clapping and the cheering. It's just an amazing feeling, like a rock star.
Yeah, we share that. I mean, it's. I do. I'm the same way. And I'll look at the floor, but it does choke me up a little bit. And I'm always grateful. So we're not begging for them. We got to earn it. But if you're thinking, boy, that person just earned it, get up. It's okay. All right. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, I'm all over social media. There's no excuses. So I'm over social media like a rash. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Steve Judge. Just type that in. I do have a website as well, steve-judge.co.uk. And what I mean by that is please reach out. If you've got a question for me, if you feel that I can help you, get in touch with me. I would love to answer your questions. I'm here to help people, empower them. So yeah, be looking forward to answering any questions or speaking to anybody.
And we can get your books here in the U.S., right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're on
yeah,
Amazon. It's anything
yeah.
that's on Amazon. So yes, you can check my website out. They're on sale there. But yeah, go on Amazon, type in Steve Judge, and it will come up with my two books that I've written. First one, my autobiography, which is Don't Lean on Your Excuses. The second book is more of a business book, and that's simply called Gold. So easy for you to find.
Perfect. Well, I really love the conversation, and I got to tell you, listen, you're our 78th show. There's a lot of topics when it comes to talking about presentations. I don't think there's a more important topic than a WIFM. I just don't, because you can lay anything else out there. I'm going to teach you how to tell stories. I'll teach you how to close, use visuals. Fine. If I don't think I have a need to listen to your message, we're going to have a problem. So I love the conversation, and I'm just grateful to have had you on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please follow, rate, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. For more resources and to connect with Rob, visit thepresentationwhisperer.com.